The sun had barely risen when the farmer stepped out of his small wooden house. The morning air was cool, carrying the faint smell of earth and dew. For most people, this would be a quiet, ordinary day like any other, but on this particular morning, the farmer was about to witness something that would change his life forever. He walked through the rows of corn and wheat, inspecting the plants, humming softly to himself. His life was simple, quiet, and predictable. He liked it that way. He liked knowing exactly what the day would bring, feeding the animals, fixing fences, tending the crops. He never expected anything unusual. As he reached the far edge of his property where the woods met his fields, he noticed something strange. At first, it looked like a shadow, moving between the trees, but it was too large to be a normal animal. He squinted, trying to see clearly. The shadow shifted, and suddenly he caught a glimpse of something that made him freeze in disbelief. There, partially hidden behind the trees, was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. Its scales shimmered in the morning light, a mix of metallic green and silver, but the scales were scarred and torn. Its wings were folded awkwardly, and it was lying on the ground as if it could barely move. Fear and curiosity battled inside him. He had grown up hearing stories of strange animals and mythical creatures, but he had always dismissed them as tales. Yet here it was, lying injured on his land, real and breathing, its chest rising and falling with difficulty. The creature looked at him with eyes that were almost human in their intelligence and sadness. The farmer's heart skipped a beat. He had never felt this kind of fear before, not from a wolf, not from a bear, not even during violent storms. This fear was different. It was mixed with awe and, strangely, with compassion. The farmer hesitated. Should he run? Should he hide? His mind raced, imagining headlines in his small town. Farmer attacked by monster or creature kills local man. But then he noticed something in the creature's eyes. Pain, fear, but also a silent plea. It was wounded, badly wounded, and it was clear it needed help. The farmer's instinct was stronger than his fear. He moved slowly, keeping his hands open, trying to show he meant no harm. He reached into his bag where he usually carried simple tools and some food for his animals. He pulled out a loaf of bread and some water. Kneeling carefully, he placed them on the ground a few steps away from the creature. He didn't want to get too close too soon. The dragon, or whatever it was, watched him carefully, head tilting, nostrils flaring. It sniffed the air, its large, strange eyes fixed on the farmer. After a long, tense moment, it inched forward and took a piece of bread with its claw, surprisingly gentle. The farmer felt a rush of relief mixed with awe. He had never imagined feeding something like this could be possible. Over the next hour, the farmer observed the creature, noticing more details. Its scales were like armor but scratched and broken in many places. Its tail was long and heavy, dragging on the ground, leaving marks in the soil. Its wings, when it tried to lift them, trembled weakly. The farmer realized it was in pain, perhaps injured in a fight. But what had caused this? Was it some kind of attack, or had it been fleeing something worse? The creature's breathing grew steadier as it ate, but it didn't make a sound except for low, rumbling grunts. The farmer sat quietly nearby, unsure what to do next. He wanted to help, but he also knew he couldn't handle a creature this large and strange alone. Still, he couldn't leave it there to suffer. He remembered the small medical supplies he kept for his animals and decided to try and help as best he could. He slowly got up and walked back to his house, keeping an eye on the creature the whole time. When he returned with clean cloths, bandages, and water, the creature was still there, lying in the same spot, watching him. The farmer knelt down again, speaking softly. "I won't hurt you. I just want to help," he said. The words felt strange coming from his own mouth, almost like a whisper in a dream. But the creature seemed to understand. Its eyes softened, and it let him come closer. Using the cloth, the farmer gently cleaned some of the blood and dirt from a deep gash on its leg. The dragon flinched slightly but did not try to attack. The farmer's hands were shaking, but he kept going, carefully wrapping the wound with a bandage. He felt an odd connection forming, as if the creature could sense his intentions. He realized that despite its otherworldly appearance, it was vulnerable, just like any living being. It needed care, and he was the only one who could give it. Night began to fall and the air grew colder. The farmer knew he couldn't leave the creature alone, not in the dark, not when it was hurt and exposed. He gathered some old wooden boards from his barn and made a small shelter in the corner of his field, giving it a place to rest. He brought more food and water, speaking to it gently as he worked. The dragon, now more calm, stayed close, allowing him to move around and prepare the space. For the first time, the farmer felt a strange mix of fear and wonder, a feeling that this day would never be like any other. As the sky turned darker, filled with stars, the farmer lit a small lantern. He sat next to the creature, keeping watch. It was quiet, almost peaceful, its breathing slow and steady. For the first time in his life, he felt a bond with something completely different from him, something that belonged to another world. He realized that helping it was not just an act of kindness, it was a choice that might change everything about his life. The farmer stayed awake most of the night, watching the stars and occasionally glancing at the dragon. He thought about how strange the world could be, how fragile life was, and how courage sometimes meant facing the unknown. By the time morning came, the dragon stirred slightly, lifting its head and looking at him. Its eyes seemed to say something without words, a silent thank you, a quiet trust. The farmer smiled, exhausted but filled with a sense of purpose he had never felt before. He knew this was only the beginning. Whatever happened next, he had made a choice, to care for a creature no one else would dare approach. And in that moment, under the first light of dawn, he felt a strange hope. He had no idea what the future held, but he understood one thing clearly. Life could be extraordinary when you chose to act with compassion. And so, the first day ended not with fear, but with an unspoken bond between a human and a being from a world he could hardly imagine. It was the start of a story that would go far beyond the boundaries of his farm, beyond the limits of what he had ever believed possible. The next morning, the farmer woke before sunrise. The sky was a soft orange, and the air was filled with the scent of wet soil and growing crops. He stepped outside and immediately noticed that the dragon was awake. Its massive head was raised slightly, and its eyes followed his every move. Though it was still clearly weak, there was a spark of energy in its gaze. The farmer felt a mix of relief and curiosity. He had never cared for a creature this large, and yet, as he looked at it, he realized that the dragon trusted him. He moved slowly, making sure not to startle it. Today, he thought, he would try to help it regain strength. He brought water in a large container, carefully approaching the dragon. It sniffed the water, then drank slowly. The farmer noticed that the wound on its leg, though cleaned and wrapped, still needed attention. He examined it gently, making small adjustments to the bandages. The dragon flinched at first, but then stayed calm. It seemed to understand that he was helping, not harming. After tending to its wound, the farmer decided to bring it food. He remembered the leftovers from his animals, chunks of cooked meat and vegetables, and placed them nearby. The dragon hesitated for a moment, its head tilting as if measuring the situation. Then, with a cautious but deliberate motion, it took the food. Watching it eat, the farmer felt a strange mix of awe and pride. He had never imagined feeding a dragon. It was surreal, yet strangely ordinary at the same time. As the morning passed, the farmer noticed that the dragon's breathing was steadier. Its eyes were sharper, and it moved its massive wings slightly, testing their strength. The farmer was amazed at its size and power, even in its weakened state. He realized how delicate life could be. Something so strong and majestic could still be vulnerable and dependent on the kindness of a stranger. This thought stayed with him, making him both humble and determined to do whatever he could to help. By mid-morning, the farmer decided to give the dragon more room to stretch. He cleared a section of the field, making sure there were no obstacles. The dragon slowly rose to its feet, wobbling at first. Its claws left deep marks in the soft soil. The farmer stepped back, watching carefully. Each movement was careful, deliberate. The dragon tested its wings again, flapping them weakly but with determination. The farmer could see the intelligence in its eyes, the awareness that it was regaining strength. While the dragon rested, the farmer sat nearby and spoke softly. "You're safe here. No one will hurt you," he said. His voice was calm, steady. Though he did not know if the dragon understood his words, he felt that speaking to it helped build trust. The dragon responded with low, rumbling sounds, almost like it was communicating in its own way. The farmer listened, fascinated. He realized that despite the impossibility of the situation, a connection had formed, a silent understanding between two beings from completely different worlds. Later in the day, a strange feeling passed over the farm. The air seemed charged, almost electric. The farmer noticed faint lights in the sky, far off but moving strangely. He paused, glancing at the dragon. Its head was raised, eyes fixed on the sky, wings tensing as if it sensed something he could not. The farmer's heart began to race. He had no idea what was happening, but he trusted the dragon's instincts. Whatever it sensed, he knew it was important. The farmer returned to tending the dragon. He noticed small injuries on its wings and shoulders that he had not seen before. Using cloth and water, he carefully cleaned them. The dragon flinched occasionally, but remained mostly still. Each time it did, the farmer spoke softly, encouraging it to be patient. He realized that this creature, though powerful, was relying entirely on him. For a moment, he felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He could not fail it. Not now, not ever. By afternoon, the dragon had regained a little more strength. It moved around its temporary shelter, testing the limits of its injured body. The farmer noticed that it was trying to communicate in small ways, tilting its head, tapping its claws, even nudging the bandages he had placed. Though he could not understand words, he began to recognize patterns. It seemed to be trying to tell him something, perhaps a warning or a question. The farmer, fascinated, tried to pay closer attention, noting each subtle gesture. As evening approached, the farmer realized he needed to prepare for the night. The dragon could not be left alone in its weakened state, not with predators or the chill of the night. He gathered more materials from the barn, reinforcing the shelter and making it more comfortable. He brought fresh water and more food. The dragon, sensing the care, stayed close, allowing him to work without fear. It was remarkable, the trust that had grown in such a short time. The farmer felt a deep respect for this creature, realizing that bravery was not just about strength, it was also about vulnerability and trust. That night, the sky was unusually clear. Stars stretched across the horizon, and the air was quiet except for the soft rustle of leaves and the dragon's breathing. The farmer stayed awake, keeping watch, reflecting on the strange day. He thought about how life could change in an instant. One moment he was tending to crops and animals. The next he was caring for a being from another world. It was a reminder that courage was not always about fighting. It was about compassion, about stepping forward when faced with the unknown. As hours passed, the dragon shifted closer to the farmer, resting its massive head near his feet. The farmer could feel the warmth from its body and the gentle rise and fall of its chest. He realized that despite the fear he had felt initially, he now felt a sense of calm. He was no longer just a farmer. He was a caretaker, a protector. And the dragon, in its own way, was acknowledging him as more than just a human who had offered food. It was recognition, silent but powerful, that they were now connected. The night was long and sleep came in short, careful bursts. The farmer dreamed of strange skies and glowing creatures, of a world beyond the one he had always known. But when he woke, he felt ready to face the day again. He had seen the dragon regain a little strength, had noticed its resilience, and had felt the trust deepen. This bond, fragile but real, had become the center of his life. He understood that this was only the beginning, that the days ahead would challenge him in ways he could not yet imagine. By the next morning, the farmer noticed more changes. The dragon's breathing was steadier, its eyes brighter, and it was able to move more confidently. It flapped its wings gently, testing them, and even let out a low rumbling sound that seemed almost like a purr. The farmer smiled, amazed at the progress. It was a reminder that kindness and patience could accomplish what fear and force never could, and in that quiet morning light, he realized that he had formed a bond that would not easily be broken, one that would carry him into events beyond his wildest imagination. Through all of this, the farmer never stopped speaking to the dragon, explaining what he was doing, why he was helping, and offering words of encouragement. It was not a conversation in the traditional sense, but it was communication nonetheless. The dragon listened, its eyes focused, its body relaxed in a way that showed understanding. The farmer marveled at how beings from different worlds could connect, how trust and empathy transcended all boundaries. As the day wore on, the farmer and the dragon settled into a routine. He brought food and water, tended to minor injuries, and allowed the dragon to rest and regain strength. The dragon, in turn, seemed to respond with subtle gestures, nudges, taps, and occasional low sounds that showed recognition and even gratitude. The farmer realized that this was a rare and extraordinary connection, one that few humans would ever experience. And yet here he was, living it, witnessing it, and understanding it in the simplest of terms. Kindness matters. Courage matters and trust matters. Even as evening came, The farmer knew that this was only the start of something much larger. There were signs in the air, hints of forces beyond his understanding, but he felt ready. He had taken the first steps, built trust, and formed a bond that could not be undone. And as he watched the dragon rest under the fading light, he understood that whatever challenges lay ahead, he and this remarkable creature would face them together. The next morning, the farmer woke before dawn as usual, carrying a small lantern to guide his steps. The air was crisp and a thin mist hovered over the fields. He stepped out and immediately saw the dragon alert, its massive eyes scanning the horizon. Something was different today. There was a tension in the air, subtle but unmistakable, as if the world itself had shifted overnight. The dragon's wings twitched slightly, and it made a low, vibrating sound that the farmer had never heard before. It was not angry or fearful, it seemed urgent, almost like a warning, curiosity mixed with concern. The farmer approached cautiously, holding out water and food. The dragon drank quickly, then turned its head toward the far edge of the property where the forest thickened. Its gaze was sharp, intense, focused on something the farmer could not yet see. He followed the dragon's eyes, squinting into the shadows, but all he saw were trees swaying gently in the breeze. He realized that the dragon was sensing something beyond his perception. Its body was tense, muscles coiled like springs, ready to act if needed. The farmer's heart pounded. He had never experienced anything like this. It was no longer just about feeding and healing the dragon. Whatever it sensed, it was important, and it might involve him as well. He decided to pay close attention, observing the dragon's every move. The dragon suddenly lifted its head high, wings stretching slightly as if signaling something. Then it made a series of soft, rumbling noises that were strange and musical at the same time. The farmer listened carefully, realizing these were not random sounds, they were patterns, almost like a language. For hours, the dragon moved slowly around the field, occasionally stopping to look back at the farmer, almost as if checking whether he understood. The farmer realized it was trying to communicate something important. He had no way to understand fully, but he tried to respond with gentle gestures and words. "I'm listening. I want to understand," he whispered. The dragon responded with a series of low rumbles, more urgent than before, and tapped its claws on the ground in a deliberate pattern. The farmer watched closely, noting the sequence. It was as if the dragon was trying to teach him a language made of sound and movement. By midday, the farmer noticed another strange feature on the dragon that he had not seen before. A glowing symbol appeared faintly on its shoulder, pulsing gently in shades of blue and green. It seemed alive, almost like it was a signal of some kind. The farmer touched it lightly, and the dragon flinched slightly but did not resist. He realized this was not an ordinary injury or marking. This was something important, something the dragon carried as part of itself. His curiosity deepened, but so did a sense of caution. Whatever this symbol meant, it was part of a larger story he did not yet understand. The afternoon brought another discovery. The dragon attempted to move closer to the forest, and then it paused, lowering its head toward the ground. With careful motions, it traced shapes in the dirt using its claws, digging shallow lines that formed geometric patterns. The farmer knelt to observe, amazed. The patterns were deliberate, almost like a map or a warning. He tried to imitate the lines with his own hands, but he could only guess at the meaning. Still, he realized that the dragon was trying to communicate something urgent about its world, about something coming, or something to watch for. As evening approached, the tension in the air grew stronger. The dragon's glowing symbol pulsed faster, and its body shifted restlessly. The farmer gathered more food and water, bringing it closer to calm the creature. He noticed that despite the unease, the dragon seemed to rely on him for reassurance. It leaned slightly toward him, nuzzling his hand in a gesture of trust. He realized then how deep the bond had become. Not just caregiver and creature, but companions facing an unknown danger together. Night fell, and the farmer built a small fire near the shelter, careful not to scare the dragon. The light flickered across the dragon's scales, revealing more scars and wounds that had yet to heal. The dragon stretched its wings cautiously, testing their strength, and made low, melodic sounds that seemed to echo across the fields. The farmer listened intently, trying to decipher their meaning. He realized that these sounds, combined with the glowing symbol and the patterns in the dirt, were part of a larger message. The dragon was warning him, preparing him for something he could not yet see. During the night, the farmer could not sleep. He kept watch as the dragon shifted restlessly, Suddenly, a strange sensation passed through the air like static electricity, but stronger. The dragon's body tensed, wings lifting slightly, eyes glowing faintly with the symbol on its shoulder brightening. The farmer noticed that it was staring toward the sky, scanning the stars as if it could see something invisible. He followed its gaze, but all he saw was darkness punctuated by distant twinkling lights. Yet the dragon's reaction told him that something extraordinary was approaching. Hours passed in silence, punctuated by the dragon's low rumbling. The farmer stayed close, offering water and speaking softly. "I'm here. Whatever is coming, we'll face it together," he whispered. The dragon shifted closer, resting its head near his feet. The farmer felt warmth and trust emanating from it, a bond deeper than words. He realized that the connection between them had become more than a caregiver and a creature. It was a partnership built on trust, courage, and the shared understanding that danger might come. But together they could face it. As dawn approached, the farmer noticed small movements in the sky, faint flashes of light far beyond the horizon. The dragon's glowing symbol pulsed faster, almost like it was responding to these signals. Its wings flexed, body coiled and ready. The farmer felt a thrill of fear mixed with anticipation. Whatever the dragon had been warning him about, it was close now. He took a deep breath and prepared himself for whatever was coming, knowing that his life, and perhaps the world he knew, was about to change forever. By morning, the farmer had learned to read the dragon's subtle cues, how it tilted its head, how it tapped its claws, how it shifted its weight. These gestures were becoming a language, a silent code he could understand. He realized that the dragon was not just a creature from another world. It was a soldier, a being with purpose, part of a larger story he had yet to uncover. The glowing symbol, the patterns in the dirt, the sounds it made, they were all clues. And he was beginning to see them clearly, to understand his role in this story. The day passed with more careful observation. The farmer provided food, water, and gentle care, while the dragon rested and moved cautiously. Occasionally it would pause, lift its head toward the sky, and let out a series of low sounds, almost like counting or signaling. The farmer tried to match its rhythm, hoping to communicate back. It was an exercise in patience and trust, and slowly, he began to feel that he was part of the dragon's world in a way he had never imagined. By evening, the farmer noticed that the dragon's wings were stronger, its movements more confident, yet there was a seriousness in its eyes he had not seen before, a warning, a sense of urgency. The glowing symbol on its shoulder pulsed in time with its heartbeat, a silent alarm that something was approaching. The farmer realized that this was no ordinary creature, no ordinary day. Something was coming, and the dragon was preparing him to face it. The night fell quietly, but the air was charged with anticipation. The dragon shifted constantly, wings partially extended, eyes glowing. The farmer stayed close, offering comfort and reassurance. He knew that soon the truth would reveal itself. Whatever the dragon had been warning him about, it was now near, and he was ready to face it, guided by trust, courage, and the extraordinary bond he had formed with this incredible creature from another world. The next morning, the farmer awoke to an unusual quiet. The birds were still, and even the wind seemed to have stopped moving. He stepped outside and saw the dragon standing at the edge of the field, its head high and wings partially extended. Its glowing symbol pulsed faster than he had ever seen before. The dragon's attention was fixed on the sky, and the farmer realized that whatever it had been warning him about was very close now. A shiver ran down his spine. As he looked up, a strange sight appeared on the horizon. At first he thought it was clouds reflecting the morning light, but then he saw shapes moving against the sky, large, sleek forms gliding smoothly through the air. They were massive, far larger than any airplane, with a metallic sheen that reflected the sunlight. The farmer froze in shock. He had read stories and watched films about flying ships and distant worlds, but he had never imagined seeing anything like this with his own eyes. His heart raced as the shapes grew closer, revealing their true scale and complexity. The dragon rumbled low in its throat, a sound that carried both warning and command. It moved closer to the farmer, nudging him gently with its massive head as if to say, "Stay close. Be ready." The farmer nodded, though he did not fully understand. His body was tense, every nerve alert. He had cared for the dragon and watched it regain strength, but now he realized that the danger, or the moment of truth, was upon them. He could feel the energy in the air, a strange vibration that made his skin tingle. As the ships descended, the farmer saw their immense size clearly. They hovered over the fields like enormous shadows, their surfaces smooth and reflective, glowing faintly with lights that pulsed rhythmically. The dragon shifted its weight, wings flaring slightly in a display of strength and warning. The farmer realized that the dragon was not afraid. It was preparing, ready to face these visitors and protect him if necessary. He felt a mix of fear and awe. This was not an ordinary event. This was something extraordinary, something beyond the limits of human imagination. The first ship landed carefully at the edge of the farmer's property. The ground shook slightly under its weight, but the landing was precise, controlled. The farmer's heart pounded as the ship's surface opened. Figures emerged, moving with deliberate grace. They were unlike any creature the farmer had ever seen. Their forms were humanoid but taller, with sleek bodies and smooth, reflective skin. Their eyes glowed faintly, and their movements were precise and calculated. For a moment, the farmer feared that they might attack. But then he noticed the dragon stepping forward, standing between him and the visitors, as if introducing him and asserting that he was under its protection. The largest of the figures stepped forward from the ship. Its presence was commanding, and the farmer felt an unexpected calm. It raised a hand, and a soft hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to communicate without words. The dragon lowered its head slightly, responding in kind, the glowing symbol on its shoulder pulsing in rhythm with the hum. The farmer realized then that these were not ordinary creatures. They were part of the same world as the dragon. The dragon was a soldier, and these were its comrades, arriving in response to the connection he had helped maintain. The farmer took a cautious step forward, unsure how to react. One of the figures gestured toward him, and a small device on its arm produced a gentle projection of light, forming shapes he could vaguely recognize. Slowly, a message became clear. The farmer had helped their comrade, and for that, he was honored. The dragon had told them about his actions, about the kindness and courage he had shown. The farmer's mind reeled. He had only done what any compassionate person might do, yet here were beings from another world, acknowledging him in a way he had never imagined. The dragon shifted slightly, moving closer to the farmer as if to reassure him. Its eyes met his, and he understood without words. The bond they had formed, through trust and care, had reached these visitors. They did not see him as an intruder or a threat. They saw him as an ally, someone who had acted with courage and kindness when it mattered most. The farmer felt a surge of pride, mixed with a sense of responsibility. He had been given an extraordinary role, one he could never have anticipated while tending his crops and animals. The aliens examined the dragon carefully, their movements precise and deliberate. They spoke in their own language, a series of musical tones and vibrations, and the dragon responded. The farmer watched in awe as the conversation unfolded, realizing that he was witnessing something historic. He could not understand the words, but he could see the respect and camaraderie between the dragon and its comrades. For the first time he felt the scale of what had happened. His simple act of kindness had bridged two worlds, forming a connection that reached beyond Earth itself. One of the figures approached the farmer again, extending a hand in a gesture of peace. A device projected a holographic image, translating their intentions in a way he could understand. They were here to ensure the safety of the dragon, and they recognized his courage in helping it. They asked nothing from him, yet their presence conveyed gratitude and respect. The farmer nodded, humbled and amazed. He realized that kindness and courage could have consequences far beyond what he had imagined, shaping events in ways no one could predict. The dragon stepped fully forward, moving between the farmer and the visitor's, wings partially extended in a display of strength and loyalty. The glowing symbol on its shoulder pulsed brightly, casting shifting patterns of light across the field. The farmer noticed the bond between them, the silent communication, the trust that had been forged through shared danger and care. He understood, then, that he was part of a story much larger than himself, a story where compassion and bravery had tangible, powerful effects. Throughout the day, the aliens explored the farm carefully, examining the land, the crops, and the animals. They moved deliberately, causing no harm, but their presence was awe-inspiring. The dragon guided them, responding to their signals and helping them navigate the terrain. The farmer stayed close, offering explanations about his land, his routines, and the dragon's recovery. Though the aliens could not speak in human language, they understood through gestures and symbols, showing patience and intelligence that amazed him. By afternoon, the farmer noticed subtle changes in the dragon's behavior. It was calmer now, wings relaxed, movements more fluid. The visitors had completed their initial inspection, and the dragon seemed satisfied. It returned to stand near him, nudging his hand gently. The farmer felt a surge of warmth and relief. He had feared the unknown, but through courage, patience, and kindness, he had helped bridge two worlds. He realized that his life, once quiet and predictable, had become extraordinary in ways he could never have imagined. As evening approached, the aliens prepared to depart. The ships lifted gently into the sky, reflecting the last rays of the setting sun. The dragon watched them go, its glowing symbol dimming slightly as the visitors disappeared beyond the horizon. The farmer stood beside it, hand resting on its massive shoulder. He felt a deep sense of accomplishment and awe. He had witnessed something few humans could ever imagine. He had helped a creature from another world, gained its trust, and seen the gratitude of an entire alien race. That night, the farmer sat by the dragon, gazing at the stars. He thought about the extraordinary events of the day and how much his life had changed. The dragon shifted slightly, resting its head near him, and the farmer understood that their bond had grown stronger through these experiences. It was not just about helping a wounded creature anymore. It was about trust, courage, and connection across worlds. The farmer felt a quiet pride, knowing that his actions had ripple effects far beyond the boundaries of his farm. As he drifted off to sleep, the farmer realized that the days ahead would be filled with new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps new dangers. But he also knew that he was not alone. The dragon, once a stranger and a creature of mystery, had become a loyal companion and protector. And somewhere out there, the beings from another world had acknowledged him, honoring his courage and compassion. For the first time, the farmer understood that extraordinary things could happen when one chose to act with kindness, bravery, and trust. The farm was quiet, yet charged with possibility. The dragon lay close, breathing steadily, while the farmer's mind raced with thoughts of what might come next. He knew this was only the beginning of a story that would reshape his life, one where courage, empathy, and the bonds between worlds could change the course of events in ways he had never imagined. And in that moment, under the starry sky, he felt ready to face whatever the future held. The morning after the alien ships had departed was calm, but the farmer felt a sense of anticipation he could not shake. The air was still, almost as if the farm itself was holding its breath. The dragon had moved closer to him overnight, its head resting on the soft grass near his feet. The glowing symbol on its shoulder was faint now, but he could sense that it still pulsed with life, a quiet reminder of the events that had unfolded. The farmer felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. He realized that his life had changed in ways he could never have imagined, and that the dragon and its visitors had entrusted him with something far greater than he could yet understand. He began his morning chores slowly, carrying water to the animals and checking the crops, but his mind kept drifting to the dragon and the events of the previous day. The dragon stirred as he approached, lifting its massive head and making low, melodic sounds. The farmer responded softly, talking to it in calm, reassuring tones. "We did well yesterday," he whispered. "Everything is okay for now. We are safe together." The dragon tilted its head as if acknowledging his words and nudged him gently with its snout. It was a gesture of trust, one that made the farmer's heart swell with warmth. As the morning wore on, the dragon began to move more confidently around the field. Its wings stretched and flexed, testing their strength, and it let out a series of soft, low rumbles that sounded almost like a song. The farmer watched closely, fascinated by the creature's intelligence and awareness. It was clear that the dragon understood the importance of its own strength, and perhaps the significance of the bond it had formed with him. The farmer realized that their connection had grown beyond simple care and trust. It had become a partnership, one built on mutual respect and understanding. Mid-morning, a faint sound reached the farmer's ears. It was soft at first, like a distant hum, but gradually it grew louder. The dragon lifted its head, ears twitching, and its glowing symbol pulsed more rapidly. The farmer followed the dragon's gaze to the sky and saw tiny lights moving in formation, much smaller than the ships from the day before, but unmistakably the same origin. His pulse quickened. The visitors were returning, but this time they seemed to be coming closer to the farm itself. The dragon shifted slightly, wings partially extended, as if preparing for their arrival. The farmer stood still, unsure of what to do. He had learned from the dragon that patience and observation were crucial. He stayed calm, speaking softly to the creature, offering reassurance. "It's okay. We can handle this. Together," he said. The dragon responded with a low rumble, a sound that conveyed both recognition and agreement. The farmer understood that he had been brought into a story much larger than his own life, a story where trust and courage mattered more than anything else. By late morning, the visitors had landed again, this time closer to the fields. The farmer could see their sleek, metallic ships casting long shadows over the land. The dragon stepped forward, standing proudly, wings partially raised as if introducing him. The farmer's heart raced, but he felt a strange calm. He knew that the dragon had their trust and that he had earned their recognition. As the figures emerged from the ships, the farmer noticed that they moved with a purpose, yet their demeanor was peaceful. There was no hostility, only observation and acknowledgement. One of the visitors approached the farmer, using a device that projected images and symbols. Slowly, through gestures and the holographic light, the message became clear. They wished to thank him for his actions, for saving their comrade and demonstrating courage and compassion. The farmer's eyes widened. He had never thought of his simple act of feeding and caring for the dragon as extraordinary. But here he was, being honored by beings from another world. The gravity of the moment sank in, and he felt a profound sense of humility and responsibility. The dragon stepped closer to the farmer, brushing its massive head against his shoulder. The gesture was gentle, protective, and full of trust. The farmer realized that this bond had become a lifeline, not just for the dragon but for himself. He had faced fear and uncertainty, had acted with kindness, and in doing so, had gained something far greater than he could have imagined: trust, respect, and a connection that transcended worlds. The dragon's presence was a reminder that courage was not just about facing danger. It was about making choices that mattered, even when the outcome was unknown. As the day progressed, the visitors communicated more directly, using gestures and symbols to explain their purpose. They were not just here to thank the farmer. They were here to ensure the safety of their comrade and the balance between worlds. The farmer listened carefully, absorbing each signal, each movement, each subtle message. He realized that he had become part of a delicate network of trust, one where his actions had ripple effects that extended far beyond his farm. Every word, every gesture, every choice mattered. By afternoon, the dragon began to move with confidence, walking around the farm and interacting with its visitors. Its glowing symbol pulsed rhythmically, and it let out low rumbles that seemed to communicate with them. The farmer watched in awe as the creatures responded, nodding and gesturing in return. It was clear that they recognized the dragon's loyalty and the farmer's role in its recovery. He felt a sense of pride and wonder that he had never experienced before. This was more than a connection between species. It was a demonstration of how empathy and courage could bridge worlds. The farmer realized that he was being taught, in subtle ways, about patience, observation, and understanding. The dragon had shown him how to communicate without words, how to read signals and respond with care. The visitors had demonstrated respect and intelligence, showing him that even in the most extraordinary circumstances, cooperation and understanding were possible. The farmer felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons he was learning, for the bond he had formed, and for the chance to witness something beyond imagination. As evening approached, the visitors prepared to leave once more. The farmer watched as the ships lifted off, their metallic surfaces reflecting the setting sun. The dragon remained close, its glowing symbol dimming slightly but still present. The farmer reached out and touched its shoulder gently. "We did well today," he said softly. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. The dragon responded with a low rumble, nudging him gently in acknowledgement. The farmer felt a sense of calm wash over him, knowing that their partnership was strong, and that trust and courage had created something enduring. That night, the farmer stayed awake with the dragon, watching the stars and reflecting on the events of the day. He thought about how life could change in an instant, how a simple act of kindness could ripple across worlds, and how courage and empathy could bridge gaps that seemed impossible to cross. The dragon rested near him, its breathing steady, its presence a reminder that he was not alone. He realized that the farm, once quiet and ordinary, had become the center of something extraordinary. The night passed in quiet anticipation, the air filled with a sense of possibility and connection. The farmer knew that the days ahead would bring new challenges, new discoveries, and perhaps new encounters. But he also knew that he had the trust of the dragon, and that he had proven himself capable of compassion, courage, and understanding. The bond they shared was more than friendship. It was a partnership forged in trust and care, one that would guide them through whatever was to come. By morning, the farmer felt a renewed sense of purpose. He fed the dragon, tended the animals, and checked the crops, but his mind was focused on the lessons he had learned. The dragon moved beside him, strong and alert, and he realized that together they had become a force of courage and empathy. He understood that their connection had significance far beyond the farm, beyond the immediate events. They were part of something larger, something that could change the world. The farmer smiled, feeling a mix of awe, responsibility, and hope. He had never expected his life to take this path, yet he embraced it fully. The dragon, once a wounded and mysterious creature, had become his companion, his protector, and his teacher. And somewhere beyond the horizon, the visitors from another world had acknowledged him, honoring his courage and compassion. For the first time, the farmer understood that extraordinary things could happen when one acted with kindness and trust. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, the farmer sat beside the dragon, watching the world around him. He felt a deep sense of connection, not just to the creature at his side, but to the larger universe he had glimpsed. He knew that the days ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but he also knew that he had the courage, the empathy, and the partnership to face whatever came next. And in that quiet, extraordinary moment, he felt ready for anything. The morning sun rose slowly over the farm, casting a golden light across the fields. The farmer stepped outside, feeling a sense of anticipation he had not felt before. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of earth and growing crops, yet it carried a strange vibration, almost like the world itself was waiting. The dragon stood near him, fully awake now, wings stretched and muscles strong. Its glowing symbol on the shoulder pulsed gently, a reminder of the bond they shared and the extraordinary events that had unfolded over the past days. The farmer brought water and food, placing them carefully before the dragon. It drank calmly, then turned its head to him, eyes bright with intelligence and recognition. He reached out and touched its scales gently, feeling the warmth and strength beneath. The dragon nudged him, a silent gesture of trust, loyalty, and gratitude. The farmer smiled, realizing that this creature, once weak and wounded, was now strong and confident, and that their connection had grown deeper than he could have ever imagined. As he moved through the fields, tending the crops and animals, the dragon followed, wings occasionally lifting as if stretching in readiness. The farmer realized that he had learned as much from the dragon as the dragon had learned from him. Patience, courage, trust, and empathy had become part of his daily life in ways that went far beyond ordinary understanding. The dragon had taught him to observe, to listen, and to act with both care and confidence even when facing the unknown. By midday, a strange hum filled the air. The farmer and the dragon both paused. He looked up to see tiny flashes of light far in the distance moving across the horizon. The dragon's glowing symbol pulsed faster, and it lifted its wings, standing tall and alert. The farmer's heart raced as he realized that the visitors, the beings from another world, were returning once more. Unlike the first time, there was no hesitation or warning. Their movements were deliberate, almost urgent. The dragon lowered its head slightly, nudging the farmer as if to say, "Stay close. Be ready." Together, the ships descended gracefully, landing carefully on the edges of the farm. The farmer stood still, watching while the dragon positioned itself between him and the visitors. The air was charged with energy, and the farmer felt a strange mixture of fear, awe, and excitement. He realized that he was witnessing something historic, something that would forever change the way he understood the world, the universe, and his own place within it. The visitors emerged, their sleek metallic forms reflecting the sunlight. They moved with precision, yet there was a softness in their gestures, a respect that immediately put the farmer at ease. One of the figures approached him, extending a hand in greeting. A soft projection of light formed between them, translating their intentions in a way he could understand. They expressed gratitude, not just for helping the dragon, but for showing courage, compassion, and understanding when faced with the unknown. The farmer felt a wave of humility. He had only acted on instinct and care, yet the impact of his choices had reached far beyond what he could see. The dragon stepped closer to the farmer, brushing its massive head against his shoulder. The gesture was gentle, protective, and full of trust. The farmer understood that this bond, forged through days of care and observation, was recognized even by these beings from another world. He had become more than a caretaker. He had become a bridge between worlds, someone whose actions mattered in ways he could not fully comprehend. Throughout the afternoon, the visitors worked alongside the dragon, examining the farm and the surrounding land. They moved deliberately, causing no harm, and the dragon guided them, responding to their signals and demonstrating its regained strength. The farmer observed quietly, learning from their interactions. He noticed how every gesture mattered, how trust and communication could overcome even the greatest differences. The lessons he had learned in patience, empathy, and courage were now being applied on a scale he had never imagined. At one point, the largest visitor paused and extended a hand toward the dragon, which responded with a low, vibrating sound. The glowing symbol on its shoulder brightened, sending a pulse of light that matched the rhythm of the visitor's gestures. The farmer watched in awe as the two communicated, an exchange of understanding and recognition that transcended language. He realized that the dragon had a life and a purpose beyond his farm, and that he had been part of preparing it for its return to its own world. Yet even in this vast universe, the bond between them remained strong, unbroken, and meaningful. As evening approached, the visitors prepared to depart. Their ships lifted smoothly into the sky, reflecting the fading sunlight, and the dragon watched them go, its glowing symbol dimming slightly but still present. The farmer reached out and touched the dragon's scales once more. "We did well," he whispered. "Together we faced everything." The dragon rumbled softly in response, a sound filled with both pride and acknowledgement. The farmer felt a deep sense of calm, knowing that their partnership had endured, and that courage and compassion had shaped events in ways he could never have imagined. That night, the farm was quiet once more, but it felt alive with possibility. The dragon lay near him, resting but alert, its massive body a reminder of the trust and connection they shared. The farmer reflected on all that had happened: the arrival of the dragon, its recovery, the alien visitors, and the bonds that had formed. He realized that his life had been transformed by simple acts of courage, empathy, and trust. By caring for the dragon, he had opened the door to a world he had never imagined, and in doing so, he had learned that extraordinary things could happen when one acted with kindness and bravery. The stars stretched across the sky, and the farmer gazed upward, thinking of the vast universe beyond his farm. He felt a sense of wonder, humility, and hope. He had been given a glimpse of life beyond his own world, and he understood that courage and empathy were universal forces that could bridge any gap. The dragon shifted slightly, nudging him gently, reminding him that he was not alone. Together they had faced uncertainty, danger, and the unknown, and together they had prevailed. In the days that followed, life on the farm returned to a gentle rhythm. The dragon moved freely, testing its strength, exploring the fields, and even interacting with the farmer's animals with surprising gentleness. The farmer continued his daily tasks, tending crops and caring for his land, but now with a renewed sense of purpose and understanding. He knew that the ordinary routines of life could hold extraordinary meaning when approached with compassion and courage. The dragon's glowing symbol occasionally pulsed faintly, a reminder of its connection to a greater world, and the farmer felt a quiet pride in the role he had played. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and the unknown, and in doing so he had formed bonds that transcended species and worlds. Every day he learned something new, about patience, trust, and the power of empathy. He understood that these lessons were not just for him and the dragon, but for anyone willing to act with courage and kindness. As weeks passed, the farmer noticed subtle changes in the dragon. Its wings were stronger, its scales brighter, and its presence even more commanding. Yet it remained gentle and loyal, a constant reminder of the trust they had built. The farmer realized that their bond had become a guiding force in his life, teaching him not just about the world beyond, but about himself. Courage, empathy, and compassion had led him to this moment, and he knew they would continue to guide him in the future. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the dragon rose into the sky briefly, testing its wings and soaring a short distance before returning. The farmer watched in awe, understanding that the dragon had regained its strength and freedom yet chose to remain close. It was a symbol of loyalty and trust, a reminder that the connections we build through courage and empathy can endure, even across worlds. The farmer felt a profound sense of gratitude for this extraordinary companion, for the lessons learned, and for the understanding that even the smallest acts of kindness can have immense consequences. The nights on the farm were quiet but alive with subtle energy. The farmer and the dragon rested close together, watching the stars, sharing a bond that needed no words. He reflected on how his life had been forever changed, not by wealth, power, or fame, but by courage, compassion, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. He understood that his story, though small in the scale of the universe, was extraordinary in its own way, and that the bond he had formed with the dragon would last far longer than he could ever imagine. In the end, the farmer realized that the world was larger, stranger, and more wonderful than he had ever believed. His simple life had become part of an extraordinary story, one where courage, empathy, and trust could shape destinies. The dragon lay near him, warm and strong, a living testament to the power of care and understanding. And somewhere beyond the stars, the visitors from another world watched and knew that their comrade had been protected, that the bond between worlds had been strengthened, and that courage and kindness had triumphed. The farm was quiet, peaceful, and alive with possibility. The dragon rested, the farmer tended his land, and together they faced the unknown with confidence, trust, and hope. The ordinary had become extraordinary, the impossible had become real, and the bonds forged in trust and courage would